Hey, welcome to episode 66 on the Air Hug Community Podcast. Oh, hey, welcome. If you're new here, this is the Air Hug Community Podcast, and my name is Judy Arazosa. I am your host and virtual cheerleader. I would like to thank you for popping in and giving your time to a little listen here today. And just so you know, our goal here is to gear you up for a better day, a better week, a better month, and a better year. So here on the Air Hug Community, we focus on stories from guests and myself that touch on living well from your 20s all the way up until age 100. And let's not even limit it there. We cover all topics related to physical and emotional health. And a lot of the topics we cover are generated from Q&A sessions I have with my clients and also with conversations that I have with my BFFs on our walks that we love to take to stay connected. Hello, everybody, and welcome back to the Air Hug Community Podcast. Today, I am so excited to introduce our guest, who is an expert in an area that is near and dear to me, and her name is Dr. Ellen, oh my God, I'm forgetting your last name, Albertson, the Midlife Whisperer. So I'm just going to pop in and go ahead and say, introduce yourself, because I think that's the best way to do it. And let's get chatting.
All right, Judy. Well, it's so great to be here. And I know we were talking off the air about our mutual passions, but like you, I am so passionate about helping midlife women and just changing the whole conversation, because personally, I am finding that midlife is the best time of life. I was just visiting my parents, and like your 50s, your 60s, your 70s are so powerful, so awesome. And so basically by training, I am a psychologist, I'm a registered dietitian, I'm a board certified health and wellness coach, and I'm a mindful self-compassion teacher. So I work with women at midlife, and I really help them to find the clarity, confidence, and energy to make their next chapter the best chapter and rock their midlife, which is the title of my new book, Rock Your Midlife. It's all about the steps that you need to transform your life.
So exciting. And yes, and thank you very much for my advanced copy. I have been working my way through it slowly, which is really exciting. There's a couple things I've been peeping on your Instagram. I love your Instagram account, by the way. And folks, at the end, or if you hop in the show notes, I'll show you how you can get in touch with Dr. Ellen Albertson, because actually your Instagram link has everything on it, correct?
Yes.
So, but first of all, we are recording this today on a very special day, and we didn't even plan this, but it's World Menopause Day. How about that?
Yeah, that is so cool. And I'm so excited that that exists because, for the longest time, talking about menopause was taboo. People weren't talking about it. It was something that people were suffering with in silence. And the bottom line is that there are so many options where we're looking at things like hormone replacement therapy. Of course, your area of expertise, we all know that exercise is great for your symptoms, and it'll also keep your weight under control. It'll help you deal with the stress that can cause things like weight gain. It's helpful with, sleep and all kinds of things, but there's so much you can do. And I'm just loving that women are talking about it. And we're saying, it's a natural transition. It can be a little scary, like all changes, but I'm on the other side. Like I'm like 2 years postmenopausal, and I feel awesome. I didn't gain a lot of weight. I love helping other women and helping other women realize it's a time to kind of reevaluate who you are and where you want to go with your next chapter.
Yeah, I think it's an awesome time, honestly. Although I'm going to be very honest, I have always thought that whatever age I'm at is the best age to be at. But I really, really think like my 50s into, and I'm 60 now. And like you said, I'm actually several years post-menopause. I love it. And it's just, first of all, the best thing, and I think you may have posted this somewhere, is, and I have a couple questions I want to ask about posts, but I don't know if it's maturity or what, but it's you just really don't care what anyone thinks anymore. And it's so much easier to be authentic.
Yeah, it's so true. It's that, Brene Brown quote of embracing who you are, letting go of who you think you're supposed to be, and embracing who you are, and just like you said, not really caring and what people think about you. I'm like that too. I'm getting much tougher. I was amazed at just, I run my own business and just saying no to people and having to fire people and being empowered and being yourself and not caring what other people think. And I'm loving on Instagram, so many women are coming out and saying, you know what, you can be beautiful and sexy and strong at 40, 50, 60 and beyond. And we're looking at each other. And I think what's super exciting too is marketers are waking up and saying, women at midlife don't want 20 somethings and 30 somethings telling us or, are being the representation of what we want to buy. We want to see ourselves, and we're really reinventing what this time period is all about.
Yes, and no longer, okay, maybe we wear glasses and maybe we let our hair go gray or not, but no longer are women in the 50s and 60s and 70s frail. I have some very strong 70-year-old clients who I am so super proud of. But even looking at pictures of me looking, and maybe you're the same, I don't know, I can't speak for your family history, but I felt like our parents acted old at this stage of their life, and we don't.
Yeah, I'm really lucky. I have amazing parents they're actually 89 and 91, and they still walk their 3 to 5 miles a day, and they keep their brains active. So they were traveling, they were rocking it. So I had good examples, but I think you're right. As we were growing up, it was like 50 was old, right? Like 50 is like the new 30, and I am having the time on my life. But like you, I put a lot of energy into taking care of my body. I mean, I exercise, work out, whatever you want to call it, for at least an hour a day. I eat mostly a vegan diet. I'm not 100%. I don't feel like you have to be 100% anything. But if you take care of your diet, that in your exercise, you take care of your body, it really opens up so many opportunities to have a rockin' midlife.
I so agree. And the phrase, let food be thy medicine, has never been more real. Can I talk to you about, I have a question about balance, and I don't want to put you on the spot, but you had a post about Libra season and balance. Can we talk about that?
Sure. Well, I think that's an issue that women at midlife struggle with. And, it's that work-life balance. There's that balance between, pleasing others and pleasing yourself. And I think the thing about balance is you think about like a seesaw, it's always a moving target, so you always have to be reevaluating what matters to you. And when I work with people, and something I talk about in the book is really looking at your values. What is it that you really value? What's really important to you? And then also carving out the time for yourself. So often women at midlife, like when I start working with clients, they're always doing everything for everyone else. And when they start doing things for themselves, they start to feel really, really guilty, which is, I think, guilt is not a productive emotion if you're not doing anything wrong and you don't need to change your behavior. So balance is about, saying no to other people and saying yes to yourself. It's about, and this is one I struggle with, honestly, my biggest work-life balance is really around work. I can be a real workaholic, but I've come to realize that if I work all the time, I have no energy. I don't end up being good at what I'm actually doing when I'm at work, and I'm not enjoying my life. So you get to, really start to think about, what is working for me. And I think when we talk about balance too, it's there's this sort of physiological component. Where are you at where your energy is really good, where you feel energized, where you have joy, where you, are getting good sleep and taking care of yourself. And I think we know as women when we're off balance, but far too often I see women who keep going. It's like they're, a seesaw again, they're at the bottom of the seesaw and they don't know how to sort of get to the middle or even rise to the top of it. And the Libra season is, I think astrology is a really interesting language, and Libra season is the season that starts fall. So it's the equinox when day and night time in terms of light are even. So it's like 12 hours of each. And it's a really good time for us to tune in and say, like, what needs to come back into balance in my life as I'm looking into winter. And I think with midlife too, we get this sort of menopausal pause where we sort of look at, maybe we're facing things like empty nest. We're looking at our careers, our marriages, and looking at what's working and what's not, and what changes do I need to make in order to come back in balance, and how is my life in alignment with my core values.
I am so fascinated by that. And I just had never heard the term Libra season and the whole balance, but it's really fascinating with the daylight. I just feel like daylight too, to get off on a tangent, seems to have a much bigger impact on us than what I ever thought about. I used to not pay it that much attention, but as far as entire, what am I trying to say? When we really lack it, or when we have too much of it, I do feel like it's very easy to make that seesaw be kind of odd.
Yeah, we definitely need to be in harmony with nature. We're part of nature. And I think it's very easy to surround ourselves with technology and man-made things and not pay attention. But we do better when we are in harmony with the seasons.
Absolutely. You even talked about getting back to authenticity and getting back to how almost being like true to yourself. I don't know if I'm doing this is enough justice, but you talked about being interested in your list of changes of things that you made. You talked about a little bit, and you alluded to it a few minutes ago, about like just doing too much of one thing and not being true to yourself. And while you had been climbing the ladder, I love this quote of you. You said you had climbed the ladder to success, but it was on the wrong building.
Yeah, and that's what I find with a lot of women at midlife. And I know myself, sort of looking at our direction outside of ourselves. So what's going to make, for me initially, what would make my parents happy? Like I went to a school, an Ivy League. I'm like, oh, they're going to be happy and proud of me, right? So we're taught as children to please our caregivers. And so we make a lot of our decisions based on perhaps our parents, our caregivers, our teachers, peers, society, instead of really thinking about what is truly going to make me happy. And that's really the first step of my 7 steps, is authenticity. So really figuring out, who am I really, going from confused to authentic. And I give people a lot of different tools that they can utilize to really get to know themselves and figure out what's going to make you happy.
I think that is so important. And it's almost like, especially talking to a lot of women, and I've talked to so many women who found out, their marriage wasn't making them happy. That was one thing. But just even not knowing what did make them happy.
Yeah, isn't it interesting? We don't always take the time to sort of step outside our box. And part of that is that we are, comfortably uncomfortable. So your brain doesn't like change, and people like, your brain likes what's known, but to step outside of that and say, I want a different career. I'm not happy in this relationship. I want to live in a different part of the world. That takes a lot of courage. Then the root of the word courage is core, which is French for heart, following your heart and saying, in my case, I was in a marriage for 24 years that wasn't working. And it took a lot of courage to say, I don't want to be in this relationship anymore. I have a lot of clients who are in jobs that they hate. I've had clients do crazy things like go from, a corporate job to saying, I want to be in the beauty business. I want to start, a business giving women facials and, doing eyelashing and all of those kinds of things. I had another client who literally, wanted to kind of join the circuits, do a public speaking job, create a business where she was speaking and incorporating elements of circus, which is something she loved to do as a kid. So it takes a lot of courage, though, to make these changes. I don't know if that was your experience, Judy, if you have been in the fitness business your whole life, or if that was something that you changed. I find a lot of women are doing that too, going into being a trainer or doing different things because they really are following the heart.
Actually, it was a change of business for me. So I was in healthcare as a young woman in my 20s. And I made the decision, as my husband we did not live at the time where there was any family. And my husband was actually in medicine and working before there were laws, 80 hours a week. So I made the decision to stay home with our kids, which was fabulous. But then 25 years in, I had become my own fitness person because my hours were so limited, and I was always reading and studying and reading. And so when I was 49, I opened my business, so
Wow.
yeah. And I had been a stay-at-home mom for 25 years. So
Yeah,
that
so
was,
women are doing that.
yeah.
Yeah, I have a
Women are
client who
doing
is
that.
leaving corporate, and she is a yoga instructor, and she's building a really good business being a yoga instructor, doing what you love, but it's scary.
It's
But
scary. There were a lot of people who said to me, you aren't going to be doing this in 2 years. And we're coming up on 12 years. And it's just, yeah, I think when we find something we love, oh my goodness, it's so rewarding.
yeah, it is. I'm personally much more scared of getting to the end of my life and looking back and saying, "Oh my God, why didn't you do that thing?" And if you're listening and you want to, what I say to my clients, get off your fear potty. Imagine yourself when you are, in your 80s, 90s, at the end of your life, looking back at today. What do you want your life to have stood for? And then think about, what are the changes I want to make, or what would I love to do? If money weren't a thing, I find a lot of clients are held back or women are held back because that steady paycheck, they don't
Yeah.
want to sacrifice that. But you don't want to just, you don't want to lean into the fear. I mean, the fears are there, and you don't have to change everything overnight. I've had a lot of clients who wanted to, again, leave a conventional job and be healers, do Reiki or massage, or, work with essential oils, those kinds of things. And we do it over time. You don't have to make the change overnight, but you can gradually start to transition to something that you're happier with, because you only live once. And I think that time, not money, is the big precious.
I love so much of what you just said, starting with get off the fear potty and moving on to just changing a little bit at a time. So we can take action, but it doesn't have to be a clean slate. Right.
Yeah, absolutely. And there's so much changing in the world right now that I think there's a lot of us are really thinking about what's important and what would I love to do. And I think that, as midlife women, we are so incredibly influential. We influence up to 4 generations, our grandkids, our kids, our peers, and our parents. And the world needs us. Even the Dalai Lama says that the world's going to be saved by Western women. And we really are here to clean things up.
Whoa, I didn't know that. Wow. But think about that, 4 generations. And as women, we've always been the main caregiver of everyone. So that makes a lot of sense.
Yeah. And also being the main caregiver, caring for ourselves is so important, and doing what we love.
Yeah. There's another, and you made me aware of this, a quote from Oprah, and you did post it on your Instagram. Do you mind if I share it?
Oh, of course. No, go right ahead.
And I'm going to kind of paraphrase this, but it says, so many women I talk to see menopause as an ending, but I've discovered this is our moment to reinvent ourselves after years of focusing on the needs of others. It's an opportunity to get clear about what really matters and to pursue it with all the time, energy, and talent that we have left.
Yeah, she's amazing. She's a great role model. And you think about all the ways her brand and life has changed. You think about where she started out in news, and then she was in, we're the same age. So in the 90s with all of those kind of combative television shows. And then she morphed into, her show became much more about spirituality and well-being and women's issues. And then she stepped away at the pinnacle of her career and said, I don't want to do the grind of 5 days a week television, which is incredibly taxing. And now she's got her thing that she does on Sundays. She's got her branded business, but she's, I love getting her. I get her weekly newsletter, and she's enjoying her life. She's doing things that light her up while she still continues to inspire women. So it's such a time, and Brene Brown talks about it a lot as well, is this time where, it's an unraveling. Like what Brene Brown says is people may call what happens at midlife crisis, but it's an unraveling, a time when you feel a desperate pull to live the life you want to live, not the one you're supposed to live. The unraveling is a time when you're challenged by the universe to let go of who you think you are supposed to be and embrace who you are.
One of my favorite Brene quotes ever. And I think about that often, the unraveling. And I get the visual of the toilet paper roll, because at the it's so fat at the beginning and you think that roll's going to last forever. And now we're at midlife and it's a little smaller and, each revolution is quicker and quicker. And the years do go by faster. And, it's funny because midlife, I like to think we're always in midlife, but like when I look at, I'm 60, so I'm like, statistically, I'm past midlife because I don't really know anyone who's lived to be 120, but I still call it like the middle of the bell curve. And I hope that I'll always feel like it's midlife, by having no regrets and waking up and doing each day what feels right.
Yeah, I find every day I appreciate and love my life more. And I think the thing that really woke me up was having a dear friend who was 3 weeks older than me pass from cancer. And I think when we get to midlife, we start losing our friends and realize, oh my God, I'm running out of time. I really want to make the most of my life. And that's when we can start making decisions and letting go of those things that aren't working in our life. That might be relationships, that might be a career, that might be you saying, you know what, I've really got to deal with my body. I don't know if you find this in your business, but I find a lot when I'm working with people that it's painful for them to face that they've let their body go. And sometimes they don't even want to touch it because they have trouble getting up a couple flights of stairs. And they're kind of embarrassed or ashamed. But the amazing thing, if you're listening, your body shifts so quickly and it's never too late. I've had clients who have gone from sedentary, being quite a bit overweight to, climbing mountains and going on, 100-mile bike tours and doing all kinds of amazing things. The human body, as long as you are alive and breathing, there is more that is going right than wrong. And there's so much that you can do. And there's no time like now to live your life to the fullest.
I totally agree. And yeah, I actually have clients too who have lost, hundreds of pounds and have gone from watching the family, for example, on vacation to go out and take those hikes to actually being on those hikes. And what an amazing thing for people to do that. So in midlife, we can do it. I love it. Okay. So your seven somethings to rock midlife.
Steps.
7 steps to rock midlife. People can find that on your Instagram link, correct?
Yes. Well, the book is coming out November 16th, and people can join my launch team and get an advanced copy. I'm not quite sure when this is going to air, and I know it's evergreen. So it'll be on Amazon, both paperback and Kindle form, and hopefully in bookstores soon. If you go to your bookstore and ask them, they'll be able to order it. But and the 7 steps are that authenticity step we talked about, befriending yourself, which is all about self-compassion and self-love. That was an area of research for me, really showing that self-compassion can improve your body image. It can improve your relationship with yourself. The 3rd step is energizing yourself. So all of the diet, nutrition, working out, sleep, all of that good energizing stuff. The 4th step is reprogramming your brain so you are clear instead of foggy. The 5th step is empowering yourself from going from helpless to in charge. So empowerment from within. The 6th step is rehabbing your relationships, because what ends up happening is that when you start to shift, not everybody loves the changes or even recognizes them. So you need to learn how to work on your relationships, and also just, talking a little bit more about midlife romance. I know it sounds like you've been married for a long time, but I'm in a great new relationship. So midlife love is a thing, and it is just sexy and incredibly energizing and wonderful. And the last step is enlightening yourself. So going from bottom out to lifted up. So developing a spiritual practice, finding meaning, purpose, and joy in your life. So it's kind of everything you need, and people can enter wherever they're at. And I think everybody, even my mother read it, and she's like, everybody's going to get something from this book. So no matter where you are at in your midlife, it'll help you to understand the stage of life. And also it'll give you really concrete tools, tips and techniques to really transform.
I think it would be an awesome gift for all midlife women. And if you are a midlife woman, for your girlfriends, I think I highly recommend it. Like I said, I'm a good ways through it. I'm not all the way through it yet, but I do agree with your mom. I think there's going to be something for everyone in that. And
yeah, it's exciting. And it's so exciting to be in this place because, we are all collaborating, right? I think that's the thing about women. We're not competing with each other. We're all lifting each other up to have better lives and make the world a better place.
Yeah, absolutely. And especially by showing up as who we really are, because the world needs us to be who we are, because there's no one else like us, right?
Yeah, and do the virtual hug thing. I love your brand. I mean, I just think this idea of this giving each other virtual hugs and supporting each other via social media and via things like your podcast is incredibly powerful.
Yeah, and it's just another way to reach people, and especially people who may be shy about reaching out. And so, it's kind of funny. Sometimes I almost think people are afraid to, like, well, of course, maybe people don't go to bookstores anymore. Maybe people only shop online. But if you think about, like, even showing up in a self-help section of a bookstore, people might even be too self-conscious to do that. But folks, there's always online buying. So, and that's another thing we can work at. Yeah. Listen, thank you so much. I'm super excited. I know you have an appointment, and we promise to keep this brief and to the point, not only this week, but every week. But I am so glad that we literally stumbled upon each other. And I will say Instagram is a great place to meet like-minded people if you just kind of look at it carefully. So
it is, particularly for women at midlife.
Yeah, more so than what I think people think. It's become a great platform. So I am super excited. People, take a look in the show notes and go follow Dr. Ellen on Instagram. And I'm telling you right now, just get the book. In fact, I'm buying extra copies for gifts.
Thank you.
You're welcome. All right, take care. What did you think about Libra season? I thought that was so fascinating, and the fact that it correlates so well with the point in the year where daylight and nighttime for a very brief time are equal, and how we can learn to balance ourselves in so many different ways. I was particularly interested in what Ellen had to say about balancing. I think so many of us can overwork, balancing work and non-work, and how there's that point of almost diminishing returns with working extra and not really getting the benefit from it. So just some food for thought. But anyways, in the show notes, you can find a link to all of Ellen's contact information. And thank you so much for listening to the Air Hug Community Podcast. We will be back again next Tuesday. Thank you very much. And if you have not already given us a 5-star rating, if you're new here, we are gathering as many 5-star ratings as we can to show Apple that we are a force to be reckoned with. We are the Air Hug Community, and we are here to improve not only our lives, but especially the lives of others.